Welcome to Taxi Talk, brought to you by Take Me, made for taxi drivers across the UK. Each month, we will bring you the latest taxi news, tips and insights to boost your business. Real talk from drivers and industry experts, a dash of fun, and plenty of chat. It's your show, your voice, your industry. Taxi Talk. Let's get rolling.
Hi, my name's David Hunter and welcome to our brand new series of Taxi Talk, a podcast that over the next few weeks will be coming to you live from this amazing new set. Actually, it's my bedroom and I've got two great friends here from Take Me. So we've got Maj Hussain, who manages Take Me in Birmingham, and his colleague got Lee Roberts here, managing Nuneaton. Now, an interesting fact about both these characters that are joining us today was we chew the fat on the taxi trade. You write children's books.
Yes, I do.
You do, and you like children.
Yes, I absolutely love children.
He has many children. So,
Is that why you asked for copies of the book?
He personally signed copies of the book.
No comment on that.
Yeah. So what we'll be doing, we're going to relax, and I hope you do too, over the next hour as we talk the latest developments in the trade, the history of the trade. And we're going to start off, obviously the elephant in the room is Uber. So both of you been in the trade, some boy and man in your case, is it?
20 years I've been in the trade. Started off as an operator.
There's no grey in the US.
There's a little bit.
Does he look well? And Maj, how many, 40, 50?
15 years for me in
15.
the trade.
Yes.
And going. Uber, since Uber's come along, what a shite company. Has messed up the trade. What?
Yeah, you say what you want, we're on YouTube.
Oh, great. Uber, remember me.
Yeah. But by the way, Maj is new to podcasts. Okay, so in front of us we have three lovely cameramen there. Okay, you don't have to look at them.
Yeah, look at the person you're talking to.
But if you feel more comfortable looking at his crotch, then by all means, just go and look at it. It's a lovely crotch, Sam, by the way. But anyway, we're going to involve the whole team here, so you might see these guys off camera, but they are there. They're part of the team here today. So Uber. So the elephant in the room is Uber. So Uber has been around about 10 years now, hasn't it?
Yes, I was working, I think I was the transport manager for TC at the time, running mainly the PSV side. But when Uber come along, it started off slow and we were trying not to worry about it. We were saying, it's going to be a fad, but realised pretty quickly that actually these are a massive disruptor to this industry.
Yeah.
And it's, we've been fighting them ever since. Really.
Yeah, the thing is, when Uber first came, a lot of us had apps anyway. We had the technology.
We did.
And I remember, because we had a base in Leicester, getting all the local companies together for a meeting, because we saw it happening in London, and we thought, well, it might work in London because they've got a huge amount of people, huge amount of drivers. Might not work in Leicester. So we Ash and I would call this Ashley because he's meant to be here today, but his timekeeping's a trend. But did we, Ash? We went along to have a meeting to get all the taxi companies to work together, and they were all like, no, it's not going to work. Some of them were still carding telephone boxes and things. They were like, this technology is going to change everything. Ash and I went along to have the meeting, and but none of them bought into it, because what we were going to do is get everyone together on an app. But they just thought we were talking, they couldn't see that the monopolies would be broken by some American app.
Yeah, exactly that.
And that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah. But the strange thing is with Uber, I think it's grown the market. So the image of minicabs being these smoke-filled offices with Sharon on the phone, with chip stains down the top, as you staggered in there on a Friday night with your hot potatoes and bag of chips. That image has been quite dated and unprofessional, dirty cars turning up with scruffy drivers ripping you off. they've kind of cleaned up the image of the industry. So we're no longer mini cabs, private hire. We're rides, aren't we?
That's true.
Ride sharing. It's made it more accessible, grown the market. Safety aspect as well with the app, I think, is improved. So these are the benefits, and we've all got that technology we can mirror with Uber.
Oh yeah, I think the smartest thing they did was the ability for the customer to review the driver and the driver to see that review instantly. Because before that, drivers used to think, the customers, that's the company's problem, it's not my problem. And it's definitely flipped it on its head. And I think that's a good thing. And obviously all of us are taking that on board now and pushing the industry in that way. So.
We've upped the games. And it's interesting because I visit your office and your lady there, Sam, is inundated with disgruntled Uber drivers coming in, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it is slightly changing. And obviously in the meantime, we've had Bolt and what's the other?
Ola. Are they still around?
Ola was, didn't they?
Yeah, and Bolt is kind of hanging in there.
It's kind of heading Ola's way, to be fair. It's
and then Free Now out of London has disappeared.
I think there's going to be more come, and I think that's something that we need to prepare for. There's going to be.
But the thing is, none of them seem to be making money, and I don't understand it because us guys have to make money to keep the lights on, don't we?
Yes, and they just seem to. The more they lose, the more investors they get, and it's how do you compete with that?
Yeah.
It's hard to compete, and I think the drivers are starting to realise it's not the platform they should be on or they want to be on, because they're not making the money that they used to, but they're so used to it, especially the new modern drivers, as you call them. They're not used to base work. Mm-hmm. So for them, it's just convenience, which drivers are starting to realise, so they start coming back to bases. Hence, there's a lot of drivers that come to our office to want to join us.
Well, 100%. You come to our office and you see a person, you see his face, you get to talk to him, and you know him. Uber's just like a hidden entity, really.
It's that personal touch for drivers.
The thing with a hidden entity is eventually they're going to do what's best for them, not what's best for the driver. They're going to keep lowering the offers to drivers. They're going to keep hiring the prices to customers until they can get it covered for the cheapest and charge the most.
It's interesting because
just the way it's going to work.
Uber are opening up after Uber Local, the thing with Autocab disappeared. They're opening up everywhere, and you see on all these social media groups the excitement of the driver. Uber's coming to the time. Yeah. What they don't realise is it's like turkeys voting for Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Because they go in there, it's the same plan. We've seen it in the Midlands, but down in Plymouth where it's launched, the drivers are seeing it. Oh, great! They, get all these jobs. And I pay zero commission or very little commission. Customers are getting like 50-80% discounts, so it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what they're really doing is buying drivers and customers. And as soon as they reach that kind of equilibrium where they've got enough drivers for demand, which is where they win, and they've got enough customer base, then they start taking from both. Yeah. They take off the driver, so he no longer gets the surge. Yeah. And they know, well, that driver will do that job. The algorithm knows that you're trigger happy and will do the job for less, so you get it. Yeah, absolutely. And then the customer, they even know, well, you're a bit more affluent because you're on an iPhone and you're on an Android, so you can afford more than him. Yeah. And it knows what you're spending. It knows what you're spending on Amazon, I'm sure. When you tick that box, it's looking at your phone. And so you almost got your own personal tariff with them. Yeah, so I think I read somewhere that Uber's making about 29% average across the world on it. A bit more in the UK because they have to have the workers there, 20% and so on. But so eventually drivers' earnings go like that. Yeah. Customer price, a bit like Netflix when we all signed up for Netflix. It was a $5 or Amazon Prime. Oh, 100%. $5, we thought, that's a good deal. Next day delivery, and I get a TV streaming service as well. Over time, once they get you hooked,
it's double, triple, isn't it?
On the Kool-Aid, it goes up, doesn't it? It's like now £12. Or if you want it delivered next door, you've got to pay the £1 extra. Or,
exactly. And
they get you hooked.
It's not good for customers long term because ultimately, taxi companies have to put our prices up to try and keep our drivers happy, and it just drives the price up for everybody. Yeah. It's just the way that it is, and it's the same in all industries, really, isn't it? You know what I mean? Uber Eats has come along, and then they put the prices up if you book on the app, and then really now if you go into the store, it's the same price as in the store.
It's interesting though, the demographic of the Uber driver. It seems to work best where it has a high Asian population, I would say. Maybe it's the language barrier. But certain towns like Leicester, Bradford, Birmingham, places like that, it seems to have taken off where they got a lot of drivers.
Yes.
And they seem to be the drivers that feel that they're a little bit exploited by the pricing mechanism. Whereas in places like, I don't know, Taunton, Plymouth, Exeter, North Yorkshire, then the driver model is more thin on the ground, so they haven't got that demand so much, in terms of drivers, literally dropping out the sky like you'd get in Birmingham.
I think you're right, David. The language barrier has got a lot to do with it. Now, for the drivers, it's easier just to accept a job or decline a job. They don't have to speak to an operator. They don't have to call nobody. They don't have to call the customer. So for them, it's really easy, accept or decline. And a language barrier is a massive problem, especially in the likes of Birmingham, Bradford, Leicester, Wolverhampton, places like that. So yeah, I think hence that's why he's kicked off a lot more there than he has to your likes of.
Do you think cross-bordering as well has helped the expansion of Uber, because they're all getting the Wolverhampton badges, which is they can then go and work anywhere in the country?
Definitely, they go as far as Scotland, Plymouth, and that's how the Uber platform.
Yeah, but do you think Uber now, because they're getting licensing in all these obscure little places, do you think they're anticipating that cross-bordering will be sort of rolled back? We've recently had Andy Burnham, the guy from Manchester, haven't we? The Lord Mayor, sort of campaigning to get this looked at, cross-bordering, because the amount of out-of-towners in Manchester. Obviously, he's looking for votes from the taxi community there. But so do you think Uber are now opening up because they can't use, or do you think we'll head down to one national?
I think that's the way.
Yeah, they're heading that way. I think definitely.
I can understand the cross-border, but I think going backwards would be the wrong thing for the industry.
Yeah,
I do think a standard national licence just makes sense.
Yeah.
I think for me, I don't, and I was actually speaking to the Nuneaton officer the other day about this, and I was saying I don't understand why we don't have a national guideline, and then whichever city or town you live in, that's where you go to get your badge. So the big cities like Birmingham, they're worried like, we don't want to lose our drivers. Actually, you'll gain drivers. Because how many Birmingham drivers travel to Nuneaton, travel to Wolverhampton? Actually, now you'll go to Birmingham and you'll get your licences where you're from, and that just makes sense to me.
Same for Solihull, there's more revenue for the...
and it also makes sense for
the local council
officers to be able to go and pull a driver from any area. I know there's a big problem with like Wolverhampton drivers in Coventry, where the Coventry officer can't go over and approach them because the licensing laws are different.
Or if they do stop them, they'll give it like a piece of paper to say, if there's anything wrong with them, they get the local authority they're licensed to call them in.
Yeah.
But
it just makes no... if there's a licensing officer there, why can't he just pull them over and pull them?
Or take them off the road, or tell them to change something.
So talking about licensing, when I started in this game 25 years ago, literally you could bribe the licensing officer. I'll give you a free taxi, just ignore that, that defect on the car. It was a bit like, and you literally go in and get your badge for 75 quid. You could come out of prison, you could have done anything, 75 quid, literally a piece of paper. There you go, there's your license, off you go. Obviously, and rightly so, it's been more professionalised, DBS checks, background checks, safeguarding courses, the lot, which does slow down the process. But how have you found dealing with different licensing departments over the year? I mean, I think I work for a group, as you do, with probably about 30 or 40 different operating licenses. And each centre has a different set of interpretation of the 1976 Act. This one you can't have tinted windows, that one you can't have a black car, that one you can't put any advertising there, that one no sticker. It's a minefield. But generally, how have you found the licensing departments over the year? Have they got better or worse?
In my personal opinion, I think they get worse. They're slow on applications, whereas for Solihull, we used to just be able to walk in any day you want, submit your application, they make your plates, they make you wait a bit, they make your plates or your badge for you there and then, you've changed your vehicle, etc. But now, they give you, and they want you to email them 2 weeks before, but then they're giving you an appointment for 2 weeks after something's run out, which is not good for the drivers. And then when operators like ourselves get involved to try to help the driver They're like, sorry, we can't do nothing.
Do you think this changed a lot during COVID? You know, when it suddenly went from, like you're saying, open door policy where you take a bottle of scotch and there you go, thanks for your service. They hid behind video and making appointments. So then the whole thing afterwards, it took them forever to get back to that sector.
They're still not back there now.
You know, they're still wearing their masks at home, are they? Yeah. And
no, they're back at the office, but they're definitely. It's like they haven't caught up since COVID. But I also think what you mentioned earlier about Uber growing the industry, I think that is a real thing. And I don't think licensing offices.
Their infrastructure is not.
Just they haven't grown.
And it's cost cutting for them as well. Maybe they've got. When they used to have 20 staff, they got 15.
But Wolverhampton have proved, I mean, that could be a real money spinner for them. I mean, I think the whole building at Wolverhampton has been refurnished. They're all driving around in Bentleys, or allegedly. But it's been a money spinner for them.
Obviously, bribes are working in Wolverhampton.
Yeah.
No, but even Wolverhampton have slowed down in recent times, haven't they? It's taken up to 6 weeks to get a plate on a vehicle now. When it was...
See, but what they've started doing now, Wolverhampton as well, they sent out communication to everybody. If your plate or badge expire and you apply so many days before, they give you some kind of letter to say that they're running over, but you can still carry on. Work. So I think that's helped the drivers a bit as well.
It has, but how does that help with safety standards?
Obviously not, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I don't want to stop that because obviously we need drivers working, but it tells you they need to grow it more then, doesn't it?
Well, I think, so we've covered some subjects first. We've gone from Uber to sort of licensing, and I think we'll lighten that up a bit. I mean, obviously, you're around this table now. There's probably 80 years of taxi experience, and millions of customers between us. We've moved from A to B. We've seen life at its worst. We've seen life at its best. We've had births. We've had deaths. We've had love. We've had consummation in our cabs. We've had everything. We've had lost property you won't believe, bras, knickers, socks, Woman of the Year awards, everything left in our cabs.
Toys,
dogs, cats, the lot. We've never had
dogs.
Giraffes.
Yeah, a donkey on the back.
Donkeys. So, funny stories. I mean, I can think of numerous because for many years I drove, especially on the Saturday. And we're filming this in Loughborough, which is a student town. So back in the day, before students got hooked on smoothies and fitness and staying in, they were out getting drunk. Yeah, Nuki Ale. They were proper drunk. The whole town was awash. They would have jumped on a milk float at night to go home. But so I drove during that era, and some of the sights you saw. I always remember a dwarf getting into the back of my cab, and I was sat there. There was no technology like apps and things. I was oblivious. I was talking on the radio because we had radio then, and I hadn't realised the dwarf had got in the back. And I radioed it through as a no-show, set off. I went to my next appointment, still unaware that a dwarf had got in my back and fallen asleep. And when I picked up the next thing, the woman got in there and was like, "There's a dead body in the car," and I looked round and there's the little person there. I thought they were just far away, but they were literally in the perspective. But so stories like that, you must have numerous as well. So we'll go with you, Lee, first. Have you got any? Dead
I remember one of the funniest complaints that we had was from a young lady that phoned up, and her mum had been picked up in a taxi by a driver, and the driver had been, it was a long time ago, he was working long hours, and he picked her up and then forgot that he'd picked up the passenger. He needed to go home to use the toilet. So he's travelled back home. As he pulled up on his drive, the old lady in the back has said, "Excuse me, driver, are you not going to drop me home?"
And let me guess, he charged the customer for going home as well.
I bet you can't guess who the driver was.
Was it you?
No, oh, that's definitely not me.
It's Steve.
Oh, Steve.
Was it?
For the benefit of the
you know what, you couldn't make that up. That's so Steve, though, isn't it?
Yeah, Steve works for the marketing department, does he not?
Yeah, different Steve. But
yeah, different Steve.
Yeah, but this Steve's not far off.
Yeah, same sort of guy.
Yeah. So, Madge, what about you?
There's been many. A lot of abusive ones, but we'll keep them out. We recently...
Did it help you love life, any of these journeys?
Listen, my love life's always been great since I've been a taxi driver. Falling in love every day, you know.
Yeah, I see the picture behind you is falling in love. Look at the lips on that.
I'm not looking back. Some crazy ones. So recently we had a customer call up to try to book a taxi with us. It's midnight. The customer must have had one too many, and said to the operator, "Can I book a taxi?" And operator's like, "Yes, where from?" And then the question is, "Now, how many passengers you got?" He said, "It's me. I'm a donkey on my back." So the operator, well, we heard the call, by the way. So the operators put this customer on a hold for about 2-3 minutes, and obviously asked around, "Do we carry animals and stuff?" Obviously we don't. So he went back to the customer and said, "Sorry, mate, we can take you, but not your donkey on your back. So we don't carry animals. You'd have to try somebody else." It's a crazy one, but it was a joke. The operator, he just went straight over the operator's head. Gone.
Yeah. Can we dub in some canned laughter there, please?
I couldn't think of one, tell you the truth. I've been thinking all morning.
Here we go. Do us the punchline again and we'll do some canned laughter.
It was a shit one, but just make it sound good. Put that bit in there.
Great. I'll wet myself. That's fantastic. Now, my final one is that I picked up 2 old ladies that they were like hinge and bracket. They were like, they weren't sisters, but because their husbands had been long gone and left this mortal world, they used to do cruises regularly. They used to ask for me because I'd always given them good service and sort of looked after them, and
could you just elaborate on that bit, David? Okay.
So I'd looked after them. I think they saw me as like a grandson. I was a lot younger then, better looking, and they saw me as like maybe a grandchild figure. Anyway, so we're picking up. When you go cruising, unlike an airport, which you know what to estimate for luggage, don't you? Because you think, well, it's just a bag, maybe something going in the hold, or 25 kg or something like that. So you kind of, so I had the original Octavia. It had quite a big boot on it.
Did, yeah.
So, but of course they're going on a cruise, and I hadn't thought about this, because when you go on a cruise, you can take what the hell you like. You could take as much stuff as you like, and they put it on the boat for you. So they packed everything, literally the kitchen sink. And I was trying to squeeze it into the boot like that. And the little old lady, she was trying to help me, and she pushed it. And she was there, and I was talking to her, "No, we'll get this in. I was unaware that the lady on the left was also trying to help. So I got her bag in. That's all right, we got it in. Let me try and get that in. I went like that with the boot, and the boot bounced back up again. I thought, that's funny. I'm sure I packed in. I'll give it another go. And I didn't realise I was banging it on the other lady's head. Because she scuttled in there trying to squeeze her bag in. Unfortunately, they never made the cruise. A trip to the Leicester Royal Infirmary was needed, and I never got that repeat booking afterwards as well. And our insurance claim went up that year as well. So going back to drivers then, overall, do you think drivers have changed in terms of customer service ethics?
Yes, I think drivers that come in and have come, especially if they've come in and started at Uber and then come to us afterwards, their customer service levels are far lower than what we're used to. They're just used to just pressing a button, picking up the passenger. They don't help with luggage, they don't want to help with shopping, they don't really want to talk to the customer. And I think, it's
that generation, isn't it? People don't like phone calls anymore.
That's true.
That they just don't talk, do they? I always used to think, well, if little things like getting out, opening a boot, putting shopping in, not with old ladies in my case, but putting shopping in, those little things equal a tip. It might be 50p, but if you're doing 1,000 jobs a year, that's 50p's man.
It's also just part of your job. Why would you not want to do that?
Yeah.
We're a service industry. To me, you offer a good service.
I agree. And as well, our ability to educate these drivers is restricted now. We can't put any rules in and things. But I used to think, little things all add up.
They do.
And Whereas now you get drivers rejecting jobs because they're cherry picking, because a lot of them are multi-apping now, which it means our service levels have dropped, and there's nothing we can do about that.
And also with the new drivers, there's no local knowledge, whereas before with certain councils you had to do a local knowledge test to be able to get your badge. Now they're just sat-nav drivers, they just pick up, press a button, and off they go.
But
there's
I
no
think
communication.
that's less of a problem than the service part. Nowadays, sat-navs make it so the local knowledge isn't necessarily needed as much as it was. But if you still should be helping with shopping, still be pleasant to the customer, and then it's not an issue. It becomes more of an issue when it's a driver who doesn't want to talk, just constantly looking at the sat-nav, doesn't want to help, and it just builds a bad experience from start to finish.
We get complaints quite often, well, we used to, not as much now, where they're on their phone.
Yeah.
And they don't really care about the passenger. They're just there for the money. There's no care in the world, chat away, drop them off, not even a thank you, goodbye, nothing. Them little things, it retains the customer, it makes the customer want to use you again. But
maybe it's because they know the customers aren't so loyal. If the customers are booking on an app, the old days, they'd request you on the phone.
Yeah, they did.
So maybe the drivers as well feel a bit disheartened, because you can't request Mohammed again because you don't know where the algorithm's going to take you when you book again. So they've got no incentive to build that personal one-to-one relationship. And I think this is where our side of the industry wins, because, okay, we are on the app, but we've also got other ways of booking where you can make that request. So we are more than just an algorithm, even though we use that algorithm.
You're right, David. So with Uber, there's a good chance you're not going to get the same driver again. But with local companies, you would get that. We got our regulars that want to use us every day, so there's a good chance they're going to get the same driver. But what drivers are not thinking, they're not thinking long term. They're not thinking about picking them up again or retaining the customer, because with a retention of the customers, it builds more work. The word gets out, this company is good, or so driver is good, etc. But they're not thinking like that. They're just thinking along the lines of an Uber platform. Yeah. Or wherever they have their multi-app, Bolt, for example.
Yeah. I think everyone's gone down this road of ride-hailing and mobility, but actually all these local firms, whether it's the one we work for, or whether it's Blue Line in Newcastle, or any firm, Albatross in Derby, I see all these firms and they're all working with the community, raising money for the community, giving freebies where it's needed sometimes. There's even companies doing food banks within our own group. Yes. And this is where we win over Uber and people that. And this is, unfortunately, this is the message we've got to get across to a community as operators, that we are part of the community, we're local, we're vocal. And, when you invest in us with your custom, you're actually giving a little bit back to the community as well. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us for the first ever episode here at the Penthouse Suite. It's been an honour to have you both here. You've been naturals and great guests, and I do hope you come back again very soon. So anyway, and for you for watching and for hopefully staying with us, and join us next time when we'll have some more guests here on the sofa. I'm David Hunter. Stay tuned, stay safe.
Welcome to Taxi Talk, brought to you by Take Me, made for taxi drivers across the UK. Each month, we will bring you the latest taxi news, tips and insights to boost your business. Real talk from drivers and industry experts, a dash of fun, and plenty of chat. It's your show, your voice, your industry. Taxi Talk. Let's get rolling.